Welcome back. We begin Chapter 3, the highly reactive nervous system. I hope this isn't all too depressing for you so far. The good news is that while our bodies often reflect and respond to our fearful thoughts and can sometimes keep us trapped in them, they can also set us free from them if we learn how to regulate our own nervous system. If you go to page 9 of your workbook, you will see a chart mapping the different states our bodies can be in. Let's start with our happy place, the green zone. When you're in this place, you feel connected to yourself, connected to nature, connected to friends and family and loved ones, connected to music and art and humor. You can play and let go and laugh freely and love generously. When you're in this space, you are not hijacked by your thoughts or your fears. When you're here, there's room to breathe, and there's an openness to be receptive to whatever might be showing up for you in that moment. You're able to access a sense of self-compassion and self-acceptance, which means you've actually managed to silence your inner critic, at least while you're in this space. You have the capacity for celebrating other people's happiness for them. You have the capacity to appreciate the natural world around you, and you can feel genuine empathy for the people in your life. You're curious and open to ideas and experiences and different kinds of people. There's a sense of leaning in rather than pulling away. You feel anchored in the present moment. You're not worrying about the future or ruminating over the past. You're also able to think far more creatively and originally when you're in this space. Our bodies are different too when we're in this state. Our breathing gets deeper, our blood pressure lowers, our heart rate slows down, and we feel a general sense of calm and peace and openness. Essentially, we've come home to ourselves. But the problem is that most of us aren't spending nearly enough time in our happy place. Most of us are spending most of our waking hours in the yellow zone, in the fearful headspace, where we are hijacked by our thoughts. And how do our bodies respond to our fearful thoughts? They swing into action. The sympathetic nervous system activates our survival response. It's great at responding immediately, but not so great at responding proportionately. It usually drastically overestimates the level of threat that we're facing at any given time. Like living in an apartment with an overly sensitive smoke alarm when all you've done is burnt a slice of toast, or had one minor fearful thought. But now the police and the firefighters and the paramedics are all on their way, and there is no way you can downgrade your physiological response. You've already set off the fire. So your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, you start to breathe faster, your pupils dilate, and a whole host of other physiological changes instantly start happening. All these changes are programmed to address the smoke alarm that your thought just set off in your brain. What's more, your brain actually loses its capacity to function optimally. It loses capacity to process additional information. It loses its capacity to see other possible perspectives. It gets rigid and it starts making logical errors, like falling into the trap of confirmation bias. Just because we feel it doesn't mean that there is necessarily anything to fear. Remember the acronym FEAR, false evidence appearing real? The brain gets tunnel vision, and all it can see are potential threats. Your heart rate increases, your adrenaline increases, your level of cortisol increases. You're in survival mode. And sadly, many of us get stuck here in perpetual survival mode, where our lives consist of anticipating and responding to perceived danger. And sometimes, if we've stayed in a state of hyperarousal for too long without being able to return back home to our happy place, our bodies have a way of just shutting down. And that's when we shift into the red zone. The DSM-5 might label this as depression or dissociative disorder or PTSD. Another way of understanding it is to see it as a perfectly normal physiological response to chronic stress and a dysregulated nervous system. So what do we know about the shutdown state? Well, we know that our capacity for social attunement drastically decreases. We lose our capacity to empathize with other people. We also lose our capacity to concentrate or to stay focused on tasks. We would rather just zone out and go numb than actually have to deal with life and all of the messy business that life entails. So, to sum up, our nervous system takes its cue from our thoughts. If our thoughts are predominantly fearful in nature, then our nervous system will keep our body on constant high alert. We get stuck in this kind of echo chamber between our thoughts and our body's responses to our thoughts. But there is a different option. If you have a look at page 10 and 11 in your workbook, you can begin to familiarize yourself with these different zones and how you can show up differently depending on what state your mind and your body are in. When you're in the fearful headspace, you could become more suspicious and more judgmental of other people. When you're in the courageous heart space, you tend to be far more trusting and compassionate of those around you. When you're in the fearful headspace, you tend to be driven by values like ambition and success. And when you're in the courageous heart space, you tend to be motivated by things like curiosity and openness. Orange is the space for criticizing, judging, analyzing, doubting, fearing, thinking, doing. And green is the space for laughing, caring, playing, exploring, loving, feeling, being. So let's explore that for a bit. What situations in your life tend to put you in that fearful headspace? A fight with your partner, a meeting with your boss, a snobby social event where everybody's trying to impress everybody else. Or it could be just a thought in your head that triggers the state. For instance, this isn't good enough, or I'm not good enough, I need to do more, be better. What thoughts are you having? Are there lots of shoulds in your head? For example, this shouldn't be happening, or I should be doing this, or he should be doing that. What are the expectations that you've set for yourself and for others when you're in this state? I must be productive, he must be contributing, or they shouldn't be acting like idiots. Or sometimes there's an if. If only I could get that promotion, then life would be easier. Or if only he could just stop doing that, life would be easier. Or if only I could just lose 10 pounds, then I would feel more confident. In other words, I'm asking you to kind of explore what has your mind decided needs to happen in the outside world in order for you to feel happy. Feel free to pause this video here and really try to contemplate what it is you feel you need when you're in that orange zone, in that fearful headspace where your brain is analyzing. Okay, let's take a deep breath and let all of that go for a moment. And now turn towards the green zone or the courageous heart space. Feel free to kind of close your eyes at this point and turn inward. Maybe take another deep breath in and out. And let go of all of the stuff you were just thinking about. Try to recall a time or imagine a time when you feel or felt deeply connected to yourself. You feel happy and safe and loved and loving towards others. Try to see if any images come up about where you are in the space and who's maybe there with you. It could be a pet or a loved one, child, parent. And what are the feelings that come up when you're in this space? Is there a sense of joy or peace? Or maybe even sadness? Sadness can still feel like belonging if it's shared with others. Does your heart feel open? And what are you noticing around you? What are you able to connect to? Maybe there's sun on your back, or the warmth of summer, or a breeze, the smell of forest. What can you sense? What are your senses open to when you're in this space? And what are some of the thoughts, if any, that you're experiencing? Is there a curiosity, a sense of acceptance? Or maybe there's some room for humor or playfulness or spontaneity. Now, as you're feeling like you're in this happy heart space, let yourself go back to thinking that fearful thought, like, did I remember to lock the front door? Or have I called that coworker about that thing that I was supposed to do? Or is the person that I'm with gonna think that the thing that I said 5 minutes ago was offensive? Let yourself go back to your fears. Let your fears pop up in your head again. And notice how things shift in your body as you move from green to yellow, or from your heart space to your head space. The more we become aware of what state we're in, the better we get at being able to change our current state. We can begin consciously shifting from our fearful headspace to our courageous heart space. But first, we have to practice becoming familiar with how and when we move from our headspace to our heart space and vice versa. So exercises 4 and 5 in your workbook are designed to help you develop these skills. So take some time to reflect on what these states feel like for you and see if you can notice when you find yourself shifting from one state to another. And that concludes chapter 3 of this course. Next up, we'll be exploring our own unique coping mechanisms and unpacking what strategies we tend to turn to in order to try to meet our own needs. See you back here for chapter 4.